In 2024, Stellantis, the company that owns Jeep, Ram, and Dodge, sold fewer cars in America than Hyundai-Kia. That is not a typo. A group that was number 4 in the US for over a decade just got leapfrogged by a Korean automaker that was barely on the radar in 2010. US auto sales: 15 years, 8 manufacturers, one chart that doesn't lie. Let's start in 2010. The market is simple. GM is on top with 2.2 million sales, nearly 22% of the entire US market. Ford is second with 1.9 million. Toyota sits third at 1.8 million. Stellantis, still recovering from bankruptcy, is fifth. And Tesla? Tesla doesn't even register. The top 3 are a domestic lock, and nothing looks like it's about to change. By 2016, GM reaches its absolute peak: 3.04 million vehicles sold in a single year. That's 20% of the US market going to one company. Ford isn't far behind at 2.6 million. The market is booming. Trucks and SUVs are flying off lots, and the big 3 look invincible. Nobody is paying attention to a small electric car startup in California. But 2014 is when Tesla quietly enters the data. Just 16,000 cars, less than 1% of the market. It barely shows up on the chart. Most analysts aren't even tracking it yet. Watch what happens between 2018 and 2021. Tesla goes from 180,000 sales to 352,000, nearly doubling in 3 years. At the same time, COVID hits in 2020, and the entire US auto market contracts by 14%. GM drops from 2.9 million to 2.5 million. Ford falls to 2.0 million. But here's the twist. Toyota actually holds up better than Ford and moves to second place in 2020. Ford is now third for the first time in years. Then in 2021, the chip shortage hits, and it hits Ford hardest. Ford drops to 1.9 million. Toyota surges to 2.3 million and briefly becomes the #1 seller in the United States, something that has not happened since the 1920s for a non-American brand. The chip shortage didn't just slow production, it completely reshuffled who was winning. The companies that could source semiconductors kept building. The ones that couldn't watch their rankings fall in real time. Now look at Stellantis. In 2019, they're selling 2.2 million vehicles. Solid fourth place. By 2022, they're at 1.5 million. By 2024, they're at 1.3 million, and that puts them in sixth place behind Hyundai-Kia. This is not a chip shortage story. Hyundai-Kia goes from 1.4 million in 2020 to 1.7 million in 2024. Stellantis is losing customers that Hyundai and Kia are gaining. The Jeep and Ram brands are still popular, but they're not growing. And in a market that rewards growth, standing still is the same as going backward. Jeep, Ram, Dodge, Chrysler, 4 iconic American brands under one roof, and the whole group just fell behind a Korean conglomerate. That's the kind of shift that takes years to reverse, if it gets reversed at all. Tesla's trajectory over this period is unlike anything else in the data set. In 2014, they sell roughly 16,000 vehicles. In 2018, that's 180,000. In 2021, it's 352,000. By 2023, it's 654,000, putting them at 7.3% market share and 5th place in the entire US market. That is a 40 times increase in under a decade, from a standing start in the most capital-intensive consumer industry on Earth. And they do it with a lineup that, for most of that run, consists of basically 2 models. Here's the full picture in 2024. GM is back on top with 2.7 million sales and 20.7% market share EI. Their recovery from the chip shortage years is essentially complete. Toyota holds second at 2.3 million. Ford is third at 2.1 million. And then, something new. Hyundai-Kia in fourth at 1.7 million, their highest ever rank in the US market. Tesla is fifth at zero point 0.6 million guys, down slightly from their 2023 peak, but still miles ahead of where they were even 3 years ago. Stellantis sixth, Honda fifth. Wait, Honda fifth at 1.4 million, clawing back from their disastrous 2022 when the chip shortage cut them to just 1.0 million. Nissan seventh at zero point 0.9 million, largely flat for the whole decade. The top of the chart looks almost the same as 2010, but everything underneath it has been rearranged. GM finishes 2024 on top. But the market they're leading looks nothing like the one they dominated in 2010. The competition is faster, more global, and in Tesla's case, it doesn't even need a dealership. The 2010s looked like stability, the same three companies at the top year after year. But two shocks, a pandemic and a semiconductor shortage, gave challengers the opening they needed. Hyundai-Kia took it, Tesla took it, and Stellantis, for the first time in its history, is watching from outside the top five. The 2020s are going to be stranger. Subscribe if you want to watch it happen in real time.